Yeah. After she goes, like, you know. And I used to see for other things too, like trash finders. So I still them out. I'm talking about like other stuff. You get stuff from Amazon.
Open that front door,
Plastic bag. Like, yeah, I Is she not gonna read last night?
I know, she's probably like,
In fact, I was
tired.
down today, but I delayed our trip. Oh, I thought on Tuesday, why not?
Good amount of spice.
Yeah.
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 Are we going to Lima this week? I'm going on next Friday.
Yeah, here, we need this.
I just have some posters. Pictures of posters throughout offices.
So if you ever run into them, the only thing is, if you open till late,
That's
you
Maybe
have,
let's
you
go
have
into there sometime.
to go down there, like, they open it so here.
Yeah, by the time, yeah.
He's down there.
So you need to go on, Kitty?
Yeah, I just saw a couple posters.
If Dave shows up at the office, I'll let him know.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
Or Cammy goes up there, he goes up on weekends sometimes.
what do you want to learn?
Not for the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or chase it.
Well, let me get started.
DPH just must have hired.
We got, today we've got some on the screen and, they keep coming into us that way. But I'll start off with, on the agenda it says members present. Go ahead, you do a roll call. Yeah, yeah. So, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just go down the road. I'm Tom Rice, County Commissioner, go ahead.
Charlotte Quist, I'm on board. Casey LA Tribune, I'm not on board.
Julia Sanchez, Public Health.
Jessica Elkins, Public Health. Katie Coppin, Public Health.
Joyce Plaster, Environmental Health.
Over here,
Jamie Ian, new board member.
okay,
Megan Evans, Health Officer.
go ahead.
Brooke Hill, Be the Change 406.
Johnny McLean, and I think I'm a new board member.
Okay, with Western, correct?
Lieutenant Western, yes,
Got it
sir.
written all over you.
I'll make that Beaverhead County Sanitation, Environmental Health, a whole slew of other things, DES coordinator.
Jeremy Alvarez, Dillon Police Department.
John McGinley, Mayor Dillon, I'm a board member.
Okay,
I'm Dana Bastille, I'm the secretary.
he's the one that keeps track of us three. Your boss. Okay, we have those, and with that said, the Russ Swant notified us that he can't be here. Well, Dina from Lima won't be down today. And on the train, who's up here?
Carolyn Hanson and Erin Montgomery.
Okay,
Can y'all hear us?
can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning.
Okay, well, thanks to everyone for taking the time to be here. Then we'll move down on the, with this up here, it's our new toy here. And Dina runs it mostly. But we have a obligation to do this through the legislature. MCA code, 2-3-214, recording of meetings for certain boards. And with that said, just reading down through, shall make audio video recordings publicly available within 5 business days after the meeting with a link to the recording on the respective board's website. The board does not maintain a website. It shall maintain a social media page and provide a link to the recording on the social media page. So one way or another, it can go out. This up above. So after 1 or 2 meetings, you don't pay any attention to it. You know, the first meeting, everybody's tense, trying to place the words correctly and all that. So that's technology. So thank you again. And, we have a quorum. Okay. And start off with the tobacco prevention and be the change. Go ahead.
I'll let Erin go first.
Okay, Aaron, you're up.
Hi, guys. Good morning. So I'll just talk a little bit about tobacco prevention. So we've got let's see, last week I was hanging out with the 5th graders. I did vaping classes with them for 3 days, learned a lot of interesting information from them. They were really, oh, can you guys hear me?
Hang on.
It's father's choice.
Sorry, hang on.
Okay.
Nope.
Secretary Austin, employed.
That's the legislature.
So sorry, Erin.
Oh, it's okay.
We can still hear you. We just can't see you anymore.
Oh, well, that's fine.
We could close that door if there's any.
I wonder if you can pull it up on your computer, if it's simply on there. No, it's usually.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've never had to find it this way before.
I'm struggling with this too. If you go to just like the settings and then go to your indifferent input
Move device.
and then scroll over to wherever it is at.
The road's terrible now.
As his deputy air component commander at CENTCOM.
No.
He selected me to be his air component commander, depending on my third star, where I thought I had reached the pinnacle of my career. And then he keep.
So sorry. I know. I'm gonna go run and get Tracy. You know where Tracy's at?
What about the internet at the top?
Oh, yeah.
Over the purple one?
PC. Oh, PC.
There it is.
There it is. Yay! Almost. Go back. Go back. No,
It sounds
go
like
back.
Star Wars or Star Trek is playing intermittently. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Okay, we're not gonna mess with the remote anymore. Can you turn the volume up on the computer? No, I turned the volume up. I think it's Aaron's. Oh, okay. It's up to like 60. Like it's up. Okay.
Okay.
Be quiet.
Do I just need to project a little more?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It's hard to read the room from here. So let's see. So tobacco prevention. I've been working with schools on their policies. That's been kind of like,
Yeah, you're not using,
Where's the mouse for this?
okay.
Where is that? It's in your more. Audio settings, you got.
Aaron, test the mic.
Okay, now where's the.
what's that?
Oh.
Perfect.
Thank you, Ray.
Yep, we're good. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. Sorry, you guys. I didn't realize I was gonna be so complicated. So as far as tobacco prevention, so we have been so I've been doing kind of a big push to update policies throughout both counties for schools. So I've been meeting with school administrators and talking to them about what their policies are for when kids get caught with nicotine, using nicotine on campus, etc. And it's funny because I won't go into it too far. But every school is really different, even in Dillon. And so the schools have been pretty amenable. Beaverhead County High School is very amenable to my recommendations for what their repercussions for vaping should look like. So that's really nice. I have gotten firm permission from them to come in and do some classes with the kids that do get caught. I'm still in the middle of that with the middle school and the elementary, and yes, it does apply to the elementary because we have elementary kids vaping. So, but it's looking promising. Lilia has agreed that if I'm doing a class with a middle school kid, we can come over and utilize space over at the public health office, which is great. Let's see. So updating policies to make sure that they're comprehensive. I'm going to be working on seeing if we can get some funding from OPI in to kind of like expand some of these programs in the schools. There's a precedent for it with Riverstone Health in Billings. And I just had a meeting with them last week to talk about how they received that funding and what they used it for. I just spent, I think week before last week, I was in with fifth graders, or it was last week for 3 days. The Dillon fifth graders, they have 4 classes of fifth graders talking to them about vaping. It was worth it to do 3 full days. I feel like they never really did get bored. And I feel like it was enough time for me to build rapport with them and really pass on really quality information. They've had a problem with vaping over there in the 5th grade this year so far. And all of those kids have already been exposed and know what it is. So it was really good to go in. We had an opportunity to bring some of the Be the Change kids in to talk with the 5th graders too, which was great. Let's see. I'm just still doing signage checks and things like that. So if anyone ever sees people smoking, vaping, whatever in a place where they shouldn't be, you can let me know and I can do a drop in there. I'm kind of trying to match up where kids are getting their vapes from locally. So I've been checking out what's been confiscated from the schools. And kind of taking pictures of that so that I can go into the our local businesses that sell vapes and pouches and say, hey, this particular one was confiscated from a 5th grader at the elementary school. The only place it's sold is here at your store. Can we just kind of using that as a segue to have a conversation about scaling back what they're selling there because it is ending up in the hands of children. Let's see. I guess I could go on and talk a little bit more about stuff, but it's really just been going great. Same good work with the kids, and Brooke will talk about that a little bit more. Our Lima kids have been super engaged. And then she'll talk to you a little bit about our DC trip too that we have upcoming. But as usual, if there's any collaboration that you guys potentially want to do with me, I think you should all know how to get in touch with me, or Dana can tell you how to get in touch with me. Yeah, like I said, I can't read the room. So are you guys ready for me to wrap it up?
Okay, then, thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Be the change, please.
Yeah, we've been really focusing on mental health lately. I think the last time I came to the Board of Health meeting down in Lima, we were just about to, or we had just had our first of 2 workshops on ACEs with our middle school kids. SD Aiken from Western and Melania Ryan of Vibrant Lives came and they presented their ACEs presentation that they've created for community members, but they presented it to the middle school at their level, and it was with a really good focus on resiliency and what it means to be resilient. And it was really, really positive. It was really good. And then they followed it up the second workshop we had in December. The kids played the brain architecture game. And if you never played that, it's a part of the ACEs not curriculum, but if you go through an ACEs training, the brain architecture game is a big part of that. And it's just kind of a hands-on way to learn all of that about how positive and negative things from very early on in our lives build our brains. And so it was really cool because the kids, we had mostly 7th and 8th graders, and they were so engaged, and SD asked them questions and they were so thought out, their answers, they were incredible, and it was a pretty small group that played the brain game. We had 26 kids that came for the first workshop and learned about what ACEs are, and building resilience and bringing positive peers to others, and how important it is to have one positive in their lives. So we're gonna do the brain architecture game again and have those 9 kids that came and did that help present it to the kids that weren't able to make it. And we actually had an ACES task force meeting yesterday and talked about the goal looking ahead for this year is gonna be more on sharing that education, and really just talking about a lot of people have had that ACES training, and now what do you do with that information? So that's that presentation that SD and Melania made is incredible. It talks a little bit about the ACEs, like what it is, so you have a firm understanding of that, but then it talks about now what, that moving forward, what to do with that information. And so it's really good. If they have one, I'll let you guys know about it, because we're talking about doing some more of them, but we're really talking about bringing the kids in, presenting it to the high school, and bringing the kids in to help make a piece of that is on what resiliency looks like to them. So they'll help do some of those presentations too. We started doing this today is the first day I'm going to do workshop Fridays at Be the Change. So we typically meet once a month with our kids, our middle school kids, and then our high school kids and our elementary kids. All meet once a month. We have so much going on. We can't fit it into those once a month meetings a lot. So we usually either teach a lesson or we talk about upcoming stuff. So this will be a good way for those kids to keep that work going. It's totally optional for any kids that want to come in after school on Fridays if they're not currently in a sport or, and so part of that is I'll occasionally have speakers. So I wanted to let you guys know if you ever have anything you want to share with our youth, mental health, or anything that could fall under the umbrella of prevention and healthy activities in our county. I would love it if you would want to come share some of your expertise with them. I'm going to have some gals from Helena come in March and do teen mental health first aid. That'll be 3 Fridays that they come, and that's paid for through MSU Extension, I think, through the state of Montana. There's a lot of scholarship funding for that right now, so they're going to come down and give that to us, and then through that same program, I'm also going to get trained to be able to train youth mental health first aid for adults in our community, and I'm going to get trained to do that teen mental health first aid too, and that's one that the kids actually do. So, and then CADCA, the conference, we're going to take 9 people. We're taking 6 kids to Washington, D.C. next month for our youth leadership conference. It's something that Be the Change has done, I think, since the very beginning. Kim's taking kids. This will be my first time going. But it's really cool. The kids are going to get to meet with our Montana legislators and talk about positives and negatives and issues and concerns and awesome things happening in Beaverhead County, and get to hear what's happening with other kids around the state and the country. We'll meet up with anyone else coming from Montana over there. And then it's a conference all week too. So that one day is Capitol Hill where we'll meet with legislation, and then the rest of the week is all conferences, and the kids will get leadership skills, they'll get latest drug trends. It's really, really phenomenal conference. So we're looking forward to that.
Who teaches the youth mental health?
So I have to look up. It was a gal from Bozeman that taught it when we had it last summer, and it's a couple of her coworkers, I think, but they're coming from Helena. I'll look and I can email it to you.
Okay.
But
I took one of them it was mainly for first responders, for the actual first responders and what they deal with on the scene, you know, with people that have just gone through something really bad. It was put on by Red Cross in Missoula, and it was very worthwhile.
Yeah, they're good. I've done the youth one a couple of times and the adult one.
Yeah,
but
it's
It's very good.
covered a little bit, it covered everybody, is what I thought. So
Yeah, they're very good.
it was worthwhile.
Yeah, I'm excited to get trained on it so then I can, anytime someone down there, there's enough people to make a class out, I'll do it whenever. Because it's very good.
Yeah, if you can get people, it may be a good thing to put on with ambulances too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
Have
That's
that.
where that has helped me kind of deal with things and respond on it. So,
Okay.
nice, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Brooke, with that ACEs, have you guys done PACEs? Have you heard of PACEs, the positive?
Yeah, we brought in a gal last spring, we changed it, and it was over Zoom, but it was incredible, and I still have the recording for that I could share.
That's what I was gonna say. We have, some partners throughout the county at our last multi-county meeting. They, were mentioning that there's a couple people trained that can present on that. So I just wanted to make sure that's.
I'll have to bug you about that. because
Yeah,
So it would be way better to have an in-person, somebody do it again.
Yeah, I thought it. Pam Hannah was doing it. She would be incredible, but I think she has a couple other people that are doing it now too, so that would be awesome.
That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Thank Mayor Olson for coming down from Lima. Thank you.
Pardon me?
Yeah, thank you for coming down from Lima.
Oh, yeah, you bet. We had about, oh, that much snow in Lima this morning, and the road was barely.
The wind wasn't blowing either, right?
Oh, no, it just about rode me off right there. Yeah,
Glue you to the interstate.
you just about take your life in your own hands on that road.
Oh, you bet.
75, semi trucks going 85, 90 mile an hour, every one of them passed yet. And it's a disaster out there waiting to happen. I mean, it's scary. It really is to me.
Okay, public health.
Public health, okay. We've had a busy fall so far, and winter. I think we're still pretty busy. We do have a family planning clinic every week, so we moved it from Thursdays to Tuesdays now. And between November and December, we had a little bit over 50 youth challenge cadets get tested for HIV STDs. They requested that. So the nurses did a little bit over 40 November and December. With flu, since October 1st, we have given about 329 flu shots and 155 COVID vaccines. Flu has been pretty steady since mid-November, about 5 cases per week. We're up to 24 cases so far, 4 hospitalizations. None of them so far have had the flu shot. So maybe it's a good hit this year. And just, the regular symptoms, fever, chills, nausea, respiratory symptoms. And then COVID's been pretty steady just throughout the year with 4 to 5 cases each week that have been reported to us. So kind of similar symptoms there, just maybe a little bit more cough, congestion, runny nose, but they're pretty similar. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, there has been a little bit of an upswing in COVID, but not significant. There's a lot of other respiratory illness that is not reportable, so we don't get those lab results. But I know Dr. Moore said there's a lot of walking pneumonia, especially in the schools right now. So just everybody wash your hands.
And currently, we are working with Butte Silver Bow because they got a crisis diversion grant. So we're in the very early stages of planning out what 3 years would look like because they're partnering. They're doing it by region. So under Butte, we would be, working with them to have some sort of crisis response in Beaverhead County. And there's a few other counties that are also going to be working with Butte. So we're kind of barely getting that started. I know they had some issues with their funding and how that came in. So I know they got funding year 1, not years 2 and 3. So it's just trying to determine how to best utilize the funding and get something going for the counties, including Beaverhead County, for crisis response.
Questions? Okay.
Oh, and
Go ahead.
yeah, we also have some, the suicide crisis line 988. We have some posters and coasters and stickers. I have posters to send to Lima, the hospital, and then some for Western as well that I would love to send back with you guys.
So the 988 line is for like suicide, like a suicide prevention line. Individuals can call in and talk to somebody, they're in a crisis. So that's what that is. And then in April, Katie and I will be going to the preparedness summit
Oh, yes.
in San Antonio. So
Emergency preparedness.
emergency preparedness summit.
Good. Thank you both. Okay, next, DES update.
Where to start? I don't even remember the last meeting that I was in for this, 'cause I think I was gone for part of the summer and responding on the state level to a couple of land fires, and I'm into that now, and a member of the state incident management team called the County Assist, or short term, the CAP. So some may think it's a little bit of a reach for a county employee to do that, but the whole team is composed of county and state employees that when there's an incident, it's supposed to be an all hazards team that would go out on kind of anything, but the most prominent thing that we have in the state of Montana is obviously wildfire. So I'm what they call a liaison officer. So I work directly with incident commander, with safety, with public information officers, and then also reach out to landowners and the public. So kind of to sum it all up, it is a lot, but when people like this go out, or like county employees go out, we gain a lot of experience to come back here with. And also keeping in mind that the members of those teams are composed of people kind of just like myself, that when the call comes up, we all kind of have to contribute to help. And the state compensates me for the wages from, pays the overtime, pays for a lease on the truck. So, they're, the only thing that the county is really out by us doing that is, I'm just not here in the office, but I'm available by this thing. So what else? At this time last year was that extreme cold temperature snap. I mean, I think like today.
For 2 weeks.
Couple of days ago,
Supposed to
so
get
we
cold
were
this
dealing with
weekend.
the icing, and
Not that cold.
we can't, I don't think we're ever gonna come up with any really good solutions to that mess, because we're at the burden of so many different things, mainly like cold temperatures and the weather itself. This year is gonna be a little bit different. I mean, we don't have that in the near forecast. We're gonna pay more attention to it. We're gonna be, if it does hit, we're gonna be on the phone earlier. We're gonna be reaching out to the people that are in charge of the dam. Also in contact with people in the state, or state DES is gonna be reaching out to us, just making sure that we're paying attention. As far as a really good response, I mean, there isn't a good answer to this. I mean, how do we really get out there and deal with it other than doing what we did last year? And it's difficult because Beaverhead County ended up spending a lot of money on it. But that is what the 2 mill system is for under DES, but we don't ever want to spend any money. I mean, this is an absolute extreme to where we're gonna pull the trigger on that, but I think we learned something from that if something like this happens again, we're just gonna have to deal with it. And again, no real good solutions out of it, other than still working with going over a few things about possibly doing some mitigation projects around kind of more around the whole county, or a couple different projects that we've looked at around the county. One of them being in Lima, because of some of the potential flooding that happened down there, and it was kind of due to an ice jam break that was up above there, kind of more towards snow line, and came down, and it gets really complicated, but we potentially can get some of these mitigation things paid for. We may have to come up with some matches to it. We don't know that yet. It's a lot to work on. We do have assistance, and I'm slowly digging into that. So, maybe we can bring some funding in here, even if it's just a little bit to fix a couple of culverts. So we're looking at that. We've also pondered, this is probably the bigger, wider scale, most expensive one, in the area where that ice jam started. Potentially, it would take a lot of work. We would look at doing some restoration on that river too. We're always going to say hopefully, because nobody's going to guarantee that it's going to remedy the whole situation and prevent this from happening again.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, but this doesn't happen
Yeah, I
it
understand.
doesn't happen fast.
And keep us involved too.
Oh, you have to be involved. Yeah, you will know. The Homeland Security grants will be open up here like in another month. We've had some good input on that. One of them being from Mayor McGinley at the city of Dillon, and talking about assisting them with the Homeland grant to do some security things over there on their court system. Then we did a big project here and put all these cameras in here several years ago. And we found that there's a couple other things that would be nice to have added into that. And that's more security, a different remote monitor. Let me explain something. All these cameras, like this one up here, and all throughout the building, on the exterior, and also in the jail, go into a monitoring set of screens over here in a dispatch center. We did that kind of because we have to, because it's the only place where we have 24/7 personnel. It's not ideal in a couple things, as in with the courtroom. So when the court's going on, people are coming up the hallway, we found that we really need to address some of that also. And with that being said, as we've learned through this, we're looking at that we need to go a little bit further, at least so we have the capabilities of locking down the front door. Like if we have say like a potentially threatening case going on upstairs in the courtroom, that we would be able to pretty much lock the whole building down and send all the traffic, say, through this door over here, so that when they walk into the building, they go right in front of law enforcement. And we do have a metal detector that Sheriff Went got that we would integrate into the system. So that's number two. A while ago, Alvarez was involved in this. We had a school shooter training at the school system. A couple other people came in here in this room, came in for observations. Johnny and UFW kind of lent out one of their safety and security guys, who happens to be a retired officer and deputy from Lewis and Clark County, that kind of ran the show, and then we all came together on it. That was really cool, beneficial training. I think everybody learned a lot. And then kind of out of that, we started talking with the principals, administrators at the school about what some of their needs could be. So we're looking at doing probably 3 different small Homeland Security grants this year. And that third one or first one, depending on how we categorize it, would be fencing off the school grounds down there to control the access. So I mean, there's even problems with cows walking in there when kids are out there on recess, so. Yeah, it'll be a lot, but, of course, it's limited funding, it's never a guarantee, but if we do 3 smaller ones, I think the potential is very high that we could get all 3 of them, and again, it's a process, once those grants are, or we decide to do this for sure formally, they, have to be ran through the local emergency planning committee meeting to categorize each of them, so then we'll move on. That's all I got.
Questions for Tom? Okay. Sanitarian report. Joyce.
All right, so, as far as food and consumer safety goes, we have been enrolled in the, FDA retail food safety standards program for the last 2 years. This would be our 3rd year. We're waiting to hear if we got a grant again this year. And so I should hear like today or maybe early next week, because he said mid-January. And so as of yesterday, it still was under review. And I asked for 2 grants. One of them was for the standard grant that will help us complete standard 3 this year, which would be training on HACCP, which is a hazard analysis, critical control point. Basically, food manufacturers use it a lot, and we're actually seeing an increase a little bit in food manufacturing in this county, which is meaning wholesaling to Reminisce Beef is a great example of that. But there's others too that are coming up, like smaller ones, but we kind of, anyway, that'll help with training those manufacturers on really being safe, making food for the public. And then the other grant would be a $20,000 grant specifically to train 100 people in the certified food protection. It's a manager level course. It's normally a $200 course. The grant to pay for the whole course for 100 people, and I'm going to handpick those people because I know specifically what places have people that aren't trained. And that's the scary thing, is that after COVID, there was a big turnover and some people just haven't had the depth of food safety training that they should. Being in a manager position in a restaurant, you should have that course. And so we'll find out if we got the money in the next few days. And then the other thing was obviously last fall, I think the last meeting, Tom and I were in Vermont at Burlington, Vermont, and we went to another food safety seminar put on by the FDA, and it was a beautiful place in the fall to have a conference. And we also, I mean, it's just so many great speakers. A cheese manufacturer that's, I guess, one of the country's best cheeses, has won tons of awards, did a great talk about how he does his and how he developed his operation to the point where he has a microbiology lab on site at his cheese factory, which I thought was really interesting since that's how cheese cures, because of the microbes. And then right now, as far as anyway, the other thing is this year, basically in the early part of the year, I just really tried to go really hard on getting a lot of inspections done. Because once the summer months come, Tom and I get busy with a lot of other things. I save the trailer courts and RV parks for summer to do, because it's just easier to see what's kind of piled up around them when the snow's not there. So those I don't really even touch until the weather gets nicer. But yeah, right now just been hitting it real hard, running around. So and then I feel like our department has been fielding a lot of questions and solving problems, which is what I like to do. I don't think it seems to, when Tom and I get problems, we try to solve them, not just pass them on to somebody else. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what's going on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other side of sanitation now.
Yeah, he wants to talk about septic stuff.
Well, I don't really want to talk about
Yeah, it's like,
Interesting topic.
yes.
Well, Joyce mainly does like the food and consumer safety, public accommodation stuff. I do the dirt and water quality basically, which includes septic subdivision, all that kind of stuff, and I'm technical advisor to the landfill. So I mean, we do all kinds of things. The questions that we get in here are just crazy sometimes. And we always do try to provide an answer to them rather than, kicking them off. And some of this land use stuff that's coming up now, that we have more and more enforcement issues, violations of people building stuff without going through subdivision review, probably illegal sewer hookups, illegal RV parks that have never been reviewed. We tell everybody, we're not here to say no. You need to work with us so we do this right. So it's all legitimate, it's taken care of. A lot of the contractors out there that I know of, they just say that they, whatever it is, they want the even playing field. And that's kind of the basis of some of this licensing and these plan reviews, these DEQ requirements. And still, we have a slew of people, and I keep saying this, it gets more and more all the time, of people that are they're blatantly evading these rules. So then it becomes, so what are we going to do in the future on enforcement on this? And usually when you send them a cease and desist letter, or you even talk to them, a lot of people will go, okay, sorry, what do we got to do to get in compliance? And it seems like more so now they're blatantly avoiding that and standing up to us. So what I see in the future, and I can't believe the amount of time that I have to spend talking to attorneys and sometimes law enforcement on this stuff. And Joyce too, a few different occasions where they have to go to real enforcement, go way up the ladder with the business to try and get something done before more bad things happen.
I never have a problem going over to the local manager's head to the main regional guy. I just had to do that this past week. And mainly, because if it's a not locally owned place, we can't talk to the owner that lives here. Sometimes those places that are owned by people that don't live here get ignored. And I have no problem calling them. Just giving it to the person that's like, wait, you know what? It's gonna cause you. Yeah. I basically, I don't want to say threaten them, but I usually use like scary stuff like, well, you get people sick, you're gonna get sued, just so you know. That kind of stuff. So, and this is true. So and then with our RV parks and
the other side of that, I think with both of our courts, a lot of the influx of people from different places that are moving in here are more prone to ask questions.
Yeah.
And a lot of when it comes to the building subdivision side of it, once we explain it to them, it's like, they go, wow, that's it. You made it really easy. Thank you. So we have a really good reputation. I kind of think that a lot of this is back to that. It's people that are blatantly going to avoid the rules. And that's going to end up in court. And we want to avoid that at all costs, but
I also don't know if people, just since I've been doing this job with you and I've learned so much about septic systems and the fact that we have one in our own house, and prior to buying my home, I didn't even think I could ask for the permit and to see what was underground, and real estate agents usually don't provide that information, probably on purpose, but I think that one of the things that I try to do, and I even think I did a printout now, because I go to especially restaurants that are on, or any hotel or that's on a septic, I don't even know if the people working there realize what they should and shouldn't be throwing down their toilet. Like, I can't even, we're talking about toilets again, which I can't even believe that's how much I talk about toilets in this job, but just a picture like that is worth 1,000 words. Like, you realize if you throw like a diaper, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to sit there. It's never going to. It's probably.
School teacher for a long time. A lot of this, I go into UFW a couple times a year usually, and go over some things with the stuff that I do as undergraduate from there, and we take a lot of those environmental science classes on tours of the landfill and show them what's going on. And it's an eye opener for, I think, about everybody, because they just don't know. So point being is a lot of what we do out of there is outreach. And with that, Joyce showing us that right there, kind of reminding me of something that, another piece that I'm working on.
Yeah.
A flow chart of somebody that shows up in Beaverhead County or people that are right here, of what they need to do if they're gonna build in Beaverhead County, subdivide, develop, whatever. And Beaverhead County also includes, of course, the town of Lima and city of Dillon, which are incorporated cities. So the flow chart has a piece that goes over to the city of Lima and to Dillon. And then it starts prompting them like, what do you do if, and sends them in another direction. And then you go to the county side and it's telling them like, okay, for example, if it's about 20 acres in the state of Montana, it does not have to go through Montana DEQ subdivision. All that permitting is local, but we follow the same rules. And it's looking pretty good. We sent it out for comment, probably should have brought it in here. Our planning boards looked at it. I talked to Mayor McGinley on it, sent it over to their director of operations. They've given me a couple other pointers on it. Get you a copy of it also. And yeah, hopefully we're gonna,
I think
the
we're
plan
mobile,
is to have
we're
that on
mobile
the,
teachers, is what we are.
yeah,
We go around and
exactly.
educate people on
The plan is to
certain
have
things
on
like
the website, and it's set up in a format like, we want you to come to us and ask us questions. Because to tell you what, the work that's gone into that is nothing compared to the time spent on one of these ugly lawyer up, go to the boxing ring types of things.
Okay, thank you.
Just one other thing in closing. So Joy's talking about these grants that she, through FDA and other sources. So that's bringing in a lot of revenue, and some of the FDA grants that she gets are able to cover wages, travel expenses and all that kind of stuff. And,
supplies.
I mean, I guess to sum it up, she's kind of financing that position, which is a really good thing because, you know, tight funds around a place like Beaverhead County, we bring that in and we can use those funds that we replace and somewhere else where we need it. So kudos to Joyce.
Thank you, Tom, for being
Tom.
so supportive. too. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Tom and Joyce. Questions for the two of you? Okay. Then we got, I said quick public comment. Does anybody else have something? Okay. Now, old business, approval of the minutes of the November 14th, 24 meeting.
I move to approve them.
I got a second.
Second.
Yeah, I got a first and a second here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Hearing none, they're approved. Okay. On that, down here about public discussion, I was wanting to bring it up here in the last meeting, rolling fast. We approved the addendum to the interlocal agreement. We have all the signers down through the county and the city and the town of Lima and that on this. And one thing both John and I pointed out with this paper here, I myself can't be on the board and really shouldn't be a chair. As I've been saying with his position, so I'm not asking next meeting, or however, we'll right off the bat, we'll reorganize the board. So if anybody in here wants to go on the campaign trail, be the chair. Anyway, that, I put that out.
Are
Right.
there still open spots on the board as well now, or did we fill them all? Who are the
They're
new?
filled.
So we've got Damien
And John.
and John. Okay, so there were just the two
And
spots.
I don't mind coming to the meetings as far as that goes. I attend airports and then there's numerous boards we have that we just attend them all, which is fine. I'll sit next to the door.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll bring that up and next go around, and we have the next meeting at tentative and next meeting, April 18th, it says on here. Is that good?
That's also, I don't know if it matters with anybody, but that's also Good Friday. Like, we're still working, but I don't know if anybody.
Goes against ashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We can,
Taking it off the budget.
Oh, that's Valentine's Day.
we could change it.
We should change it. There's no school.
Is there no school on that day?
Well,
Well, that's fine.
do you want to move it to Thursday?
No, not that week.
Well, that whole week, is it spring break or something?
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh, like the 11th?
I have
Friday
it.
before.
We could, how about the Friday before, the 18th?
April.
11th.
Eleven.
We'll be here.
Yeah.
Conference is good during the week. We'll be here. We'll be gone. Monday, Tuesday, through Thursday. Sarah won't be here, but she's not here.
Yeah, I'll put that link. Remind you. But I also wanted to add with the new recording, so we have to host the meeting, there's places that are capable of recording. So this is one, I don't know with Lima, are y'all able to record the meeting if we host the meeting there? Yeah, okay. And then I don't know the other.
The hospital probably does.
Oh, Carolyn.
Carolyn up here from the hospital, so I'm sure they can do it up there.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to
Yeah.
host the meeting. The hospital would.
Okay, do you want to do the April 11th meeting?
We'd be happy to do that.
Okay. April 11th at their, but you say more. Go ahead.
Just before we close out, the other thing that I know we need to focus on soon is updating the bylaws. I think it was 20, remember when it was?
2019.
Yeah, I know a couple of other counties are working on updating theirs as well, or at least reviewing, especially with the new members and everything. I
What's
think
that?
would be-
That form that you guys have. Updating a couple things on there for sure.
We could make sure that in April, that's on the, we'll start that update bylaws. Okay. Okay. Anything else under public discussion subject under POH jurisdiction not on the agenda? Yes.
There is that city survey going around. I think if we could, I don't know if I can send it to you, Dana, or if you have it, we could share it with the group so we can all share it with as many people as possible. I think that'd be good.
Mayor McGinley has some flyers.
Yeah, we have little things you can hang up in your place of business that have QR codes on them.
Right.
If you want to grab some, have a place to put them, let me know. We want
What's
to get
that
it
for exactly?
For the survey.
for the growth policy for Dylan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm headed up to talk to the
Oh, yeah.
students, ended up at that. Talked to them yesterday, now I got the card I'm gonna give them, they said the students won't get around Western campus. I'm really pushing for the younger people to do this because the growth policy for old people, my growth policies, I'm gonna be up the Sweetwater Road. So that younger people are gonna benefit from it, so I'd like to see what the younger people want Dylan to look like in 20 years.
Hopefully no more bars. We have enough of those.
If you need a flyer, let me know and I'll give it you some. Christine ordered a
If
flyer.
we have a bar, we have to have a church that comes along with it.
Okay, combine the two of them.
Okay, thank you. And then new business, Darby has something to start.
Yeah, I had something that came up. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Charlotte Quist by training. I'm a veterinary pathologist, so I have a DVM degree and a PhD in pathology. And I give that just as background for the next things I'm going to say. The first thing I want to bring up is avian influenza. You should be aware that avian influenza now is smoldering and has been for a couple of years across the country. Right now, the main carriers, of course, are wild birds, but it crosses over readily into domestic poultry and some other species. There have been a number of cases, I don't know what the most recent number is, 20 or 30 cases in humans across the country, 1 death fairly recently in Louisiana. The problem with this virus is avian influenza viruses by nature are very mutagenic. In other words, they're very promiscuous. They like to share parts with other viruses. They are, that's what I think of as being promiscuous viruses. Right now, transmission between various bird species and humans has been via direct contact. For example, the individual in Louisiana that died, I think, had backyard poultry of some kind. I haven't looked into his death. Megan might be able to comment.
I know he was older, over 65, and had health conditions too.
So, but all that sets up, the problem is, right now we've had some cases transmit to humans, again, direct contact. But because these viruses are promiscuous, there's always the danger that they're going to pick up the gene that allows them to transmit more readily via aerosol contact. When that happens, in a word, it's going to be a train wreck. If Megan would agree.
Like COVID times 100.
It's going to be like COVID, but it's a very transmissible virus. The problem with the vaccines is the vaccines are like whack-a-mole. Every year they develop vaccines, but it's kind of based on the particular strain, and they're any combination of H and N, and then there's little numbers after them. And depending on the numbers, those viruses are more or less virulent. In other words, more serious, in a word. And so back to the vaccines, every year they look at whatever viruses were circulating the previous year, and they try to project what virus might be circulating this year. You mentioned that right now the vaccine seems pretty good, but it's never 100% because you never quite know what virus is going to be circulating. So I think this is something we need to keep our eyes on, because this is the next big major public health outbreak. Now, that being said, what really triggered my comments, I was watching the news, and yesterday evening, KBZK, and as usual, I was multitasking or something. Park County, and I don't know the name of the document, and I apologize because I kind of got into it. I don't know if Megan, you caught this or not, but Park County has a draft of it's a public health document that would instigate isolation and quarantine procedures across the county in the event of a major public health outbreak. I'm sure this is probably driven by avian influenza, because I do think, this is a big threat. So, but the news, the excerpt on the news was just interviewing a woman, don't know her qualifications, but this took me so back to COVID, because she was saying, we don't need this document. They're going to force us into quarantine and isolation procedures. Did any of you see how this gets us? I did. Well, you can add, because like I said, about a third of the way through, I'm like, wait a minute. Anyway, she's saying, we don't need to be doing all this. There's just the usual cram it down our throats. And people will use common sense. And I'm going, no, they won't. Anyway, it'd be interesting. It's a big uproar apparently over in Courthouse County. And I think it'd be interesting to look at that document, because again, my hunch is that document was, I don't know this, that document was triggered by number one, our previous experience with COVID, and then going forward, the threat of avian influenza.
Okay.
So I just think it's something, it was interesting, and it might behoove us, maybe Megan and I can try to do it to get that.
What's the symptoms of if a human gets it?
I'll turf that.
Influenza, high fever, body aches, cough, upper respiratory.
Okay. So only because, like, when we do inspections, and not just restaurants, but everyone I do, we talk about if someone gets sick, one of your employees, customer, and they, vomit, whatever, baby diaper leak, cut themselves, to protect themselves, with gloves and a mask when they clean it up. Sometimes they're looking at me like, what? And I go, you understand some of these viruses can get airborne while you're cleaning up someone else's body fluids. So to be, I mean, I go through this every single inspection, but I just want to make sure I'm covering everything because now bird flu things coming up and
Bird flu is
norovirus.
avian
Been
flu, it's all the
recently
same thing.
lately, the norovirus outbreak around the country is huge. And so I've been giving out flyers about how to clean up, that and make sure they protect themselves and so it doesn't continue then. But I hope I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like, you think so?
It's
Yeah.
like
Okay.
potency or mortality on it, or do they even?
Well, influenza depends on which strain it is, and I don't think
Yeah.
the current strain has been evaluated, Megan.
Oh,
In
okay,
terms of
that's-
human.
That's the answer.
Actually, I think only one person has died out of 2 cases, the mortality rate.
Is it just one?
You mean
Just
for the
one
one this year?
For this one,
For the avian one.
no, but it's like any influenza, like this kind of flu, it's terrible, I think.
Yeah, the mortality in that 1918-20 avian, well, they think it was maybe a mutated swine flu. They actually, at the time, they didn't even know it was viral. But the mortality in that was 30 or 40%. It was significant. And the morbidity, the number of sick people, oh my God, it was like 80%. And so people have asked me, is this avian influenza a threat? Potentially, yes. All it would take would be the right mutation before it goes over. And then the virulence factors. So in other words, how significant the disease is in terms of morbidity and mortality are just going to depend on
Lots of things.
lots of things.
Pre-existing conditions.
So you'd like to get a hold of that document?
Yeah, I think Tom, this is one place where this falls under the emergency.
The emergency operations plan. We do have that, and I believe the reason Park County just did it is they're doing the Public Health Accreditation Board pathways, and that's one of our requirements is to
Okay.
have that. So I actually have access to
You
that
do?
document. I can
I
send
think
it
it'd
to you.
be interesting to look at, and again, in terms of emergency preparedness,
Yeah.
this goes also back to something, I talked with Tom about years ago, before COVID. We don't have an animal emergency preparedness document in place, and I was really geared up to try to do that, and then COVID hit and it got sidetracked, but I think I'm the appropriate person to try to work on that, and I need to try to do it, but I think this, in terms of emergency preparedness, these are some things we probably need to look at.
Yeah,
I can contact the DES coordinator over there also. I can
It'd
probably
be just interesting to read that
I
document.
might go to grab it today.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them if they finalized it.
Yeah, last night on the news, it was still a draft, but, back to that news report, what bothered me about that was that I had no idea the qualifications of this woman they interviewed, and it was a lengthy interview. And they didn't ever interview any of the public health people to give the other side, which I thought, it was pretty direct. Oh, you read that, you saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. It was scary. I mean, it was.
Yeah, because she kept saying, oh, people have common sense, we don't need this.
Right.
Mhm.
Have you met people?
Did you live through COVID?
I'm glad you brought that up, though, Charlotte, 'cause I think we need to realize it as a threat, and I think the thing that, the cue that it's bad is if it goes from human to human,
Yes.
right? All we have right now is animal to human, concerning
And
and
it's
less
limited,
concerning, but the
you know,
second it
because
goes human to human, that's when we need to worry more.
And, right now, there haven't even been that many animal to human cases, but that could change with a single mutation of that virus. Just like the difference between direct contact transmission and aerosol transmission, that could change. And I think scientifically, it's just a matter of time.
I mean, what animal can your dog get it? I mean, is it that mutated yet?
There was one that I read about of polar bears getting it around us.
Oh, yeah.
It
is.
Anything that's under stress,
Mutate.
Died from it.
Oh,
if they're stressed,
Lions, anything. Pack it.
any mammal, I would assume.
of course, swine are known for being fairly susceptible to it. Those are some of the big ones, but it can cross over. Studies have been done that show that
for example, domestic cats in households, they may not get sick, but they may have a antibody titer. I don't even know if they're quote unquote carriers. They may have an antibody titer, which tells you that that animal has been infected with that virus, but didn't necessarily even get sick. They don't tend to carry influenza viruses for long term. So usually a carrier state, I mean, it's a fairly short duration virus, but any of those things can change.
I mean, I will say one comment I did hear out in the field was eggs have gotten expensive again for some of the restaurants because of the
Because
flu.
birds die.
Yeah, and so it affects that level where now prices go up for eggs and then of course go up for breakfast and it costs more. So all those things kind of are tied together. But yeah, I didn't know it was getting as bad as it is. So that's good to hear. I mean, it's not good to hear, but it's good to know. But yeah.
The virus is widespread in wild and domestic poultry. And because of that, it's just a matter of time before we start getting more human cases, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. That info. And then with that said, Dana's taking notes, but next meeting, we'll try to send out
They were panicking.
a agenda early. We'll list this animal influenza, updates on bylaws, anything I made notes on it early. And then if we miss something, which is entirely possible, you could get hold of her and we got it. Today I thought of that, the position I'm in up here, and John, today it was peer discussion, no decisions. So I just led the meeting.
So
that's another thing, next meeting, top of the agenda will be reorganization.
So with you not being able to be on board and then Don not being able to be on board, that's gonna open up to.
I would assume.
But it will have to because Nicole was, I said technically only Nicole stepped down and Johnny was in and Johnny stepped in and then Damien is like an extra.
Okay.
So if Tom and John step down, there will be just one.
Like MCA, basically for numbers.
I thought somebody else stepped down.
So.
Did Russ?
No,
Russ
Russ isn't here.
He's just vacant. He's in flight someplace.
Yeah, it's back
Yeah,
east,
it was-
go judge chair or something.
Russ and Megan and Nicole were all up this year and Nicole decided to not re-up.
Okay.
Got it.
So the chair position, Tom, that you're in right now, what as far as if anyone else would be interested in doing that, what do you
Well, it's
suggest?
gotta be a board member, right?
Yeah, you gotta be
A board member?
board member and get, work with Dana and other ones in the group to get an agenda for each meeting. That's what we've jotted down what comments have come up, so we don't miss them next time. And we'll go down and we'll send it out early, just for comments as far as yours and other topics. And we'll just proceed. And like I said, I'll come to the meeting. I know we have 22 volunteer boards. And we're probably stagger ourselves into 10 different meetings. But
Yeah.
I go to probably 5, 6. John goes to 5 or 6. Mike attends 5 or 6, and then it's just a set in, see if there's sometimes if there's harmony, if you will,
Right.
in the board. It's a big topic or something.
Well, thanks for doing this position for so long. Yeah.
Oh, it was a learning experience. I'm a pride of place my work.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you. I need a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second, right?
I got a first and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for taking the time to come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Oh. Oh my God.
Liz West is.